Diddy docket for Friday, June 27th. The defense gave their closing argument. It was given by attorney Marc Agnifilo. He said that there are two trials. The first is the trial as told by the witnesses, the text messages and the videos. The second trial is told by the mouths of the prosecution. He submits that it is a false trial. It is exaggerated and it's not a real trial. He starts out by giving some positive things about Diddy, saying that he is a self-made, successful Black entrepreneur. He is a great businessman, and that business has stood the test of time. He portrays Diddy as a DEI pioneer. He has been practicing diversity, equity, and inclusion before it was even a mandated practice. Then he moves on to attack every element of the case, addressing acts that he feels like does not substantiate the racketeering conspiracy charge. He starts with the fact that no witnesses admitted that they were part of the conspiracy or worked in an enterprise. He goes on to say that this lawsuit is not about a crime, it is only about money. If it would not for Cassie's civil case and getting $30 million, there would have been no investigation into his actions. So he says that this trial is only about money. When speaking on the relationship between Cassie and Diddy, he actually called it a love story. He said, "We admit to the domestic violence, but these were just two people in love that chose to live a different type of lifestyle, and that is not illegal." He actually called Cassie a gangster because she used a burner to contact Kid Cudi. He attempts to cast doubt on Capricorn Clark's allegation of kidnapping. He said that Diddy had nothing to do with this. He had no knowledge that she had been taken to a warehouse, been forced to be given a lie detector. They addressed Kid Cudi's car, saying it was not blown up, it was only set on fire, which is arson. But he does say there's no evidence, which I agree that there is no physical evidence that Diddy actually set Kid Cudi's car on fire or that he was involved in it. He said if anything, Diddy would just have had a physical altercation with him. He never would have set the car on fire for it to blow up. It was reported that Marc Agnifilo was not standing still in front of the microphone when he gave his closing argument. He tended to move around, which at times made it hard to hear exactly what he was saying. He was very fidgety, tapping his foot, as opposed to the prosecution that stood still. So I don't know if that was just his style of giving a closing argument, but you definitely want to be close to the microphone so that everybody can actually hear what you're saying. In regards to Diddy purchasing the security tape from the Intercontinental Hotel, he says it was not bribery. He simply purchased it to avoid any bad press from the incident. He claims that it is not a bribe because there was no law enforcement involved. There had been no police investigation, and he was doing it just to protect Cassie. After the break, the prosecution asked the judge to take issue with some of the statements in the defense attorney's closing argument. He improperly asked the jury to consider why the prosecutors charged a particular racketeering predicate. He stated that in a Continental video only shows a misdemeanor assault. The judge agreed that these statements were grossly improper, so when the jury came back, he told them that it would be improper for them to consider such matters in your deliberations. They needed to disregard the comments that the defense attorney told them as far as them trying to consider why the prosecution charged what they did. He goes on to say that all of the freak-offs were just part of their lifestyle, that everybody involved consented, that none of Diddy's associates were involved in any type of drug deal. He also tries to dissect the Intercontinental video where Diddy violently attacked Cassie, again saying that was just simply a misdemeanor. He also wants to point out that since Cassie at some point in the video went back in the room, that she must have felt safe. That the excuse for Diddy's behavior in that video is because something was off with his drugs. He also addresses the alleged that Cassie testified to in 2018, saying that Cassie made it up. She wanted to cover up the fact that she had another sexual encounter with Diddy while she was with her then boyfriend, now husband. It's reported that during the break that Diddy was seen smiling and actually interacting lightheartedly with his counsel, that while his defense attorney was giving his closing argument, at some point he was continued to nod profusely, especially the part where they talk about Kid Cudi's car. They point out the fact that nobody was indicted besides Diddy, which is true. A lot of the people that came to testify were granted immunity. He said as far as the freak-off, he assumed that the escorts were legal. And the defense attorney even said that there were acts of real intimacy, love in the freak-off videos. He closes his argument by saying that Diddy was innocent. He put it real simply. I will say there were some valid points made in his closing argument. There were no other conspirators charged in this case. It is a fact that Cassie did file a civil lawsuit, received a very large settlement before the criminal case was filed. There was a time where Cassie and Jane did consent to some of the acts they participated in. Then the prosecution comes with their rebuttal, saying that the defense made a lot of excuses. Of course, he knew that dealing with escorts, prostitution is illegal. There's no way he would have thought that was illegal. He just lived in a world where it was never an answer to anything he wanted. As far as the enterprise, they admit that there was some lawful sides of the enterprise as far as the business that Diddy had, but the associates still interacted and helped him commit illegal activities, and that is the unlawful side of the enterprise. They argue against the freak-offs being something completely enjoyable, always considered to. They fight back on the fact that the hotel nights were done out of obligation, not out of pleasure, that none of the witnesses were given a financial motive to testify. This is a criminal trial, not a civil suit. So everybody that got up and testified will not be receiving a financial settlement like Cassie did when she filed a civil lawsuit. In response to the defense offering up, yes, it was domestic violence in the relationship between Diddy and Cassie, that cannot be a defense to sex trafficking. You cannot say that you abused somebody. So there's no way, I agree that I abused her, but that doesn't mean that I forced her to participate in acts she did not want to participate in. The prosecution ends their rebuttal simply saying that Diddy is guilty. He's gotten away with these crimes for too long, and it's time for it to come to an end. The jury will receive their instructions on Monday, and then deliberation will start. So, how long do you think they're going to deliberate before a verdict is handed down? Until next time.